Great stuff for our political panel to dig into. Let's bring them in now. Sean Duffy, former Wisconsin Republican congressman, and David Carlucci, former New York State Democratic senator. First, your reaction to what you just heard there.
So first of all, I agree with Rokana. We have a problem in education. It costs too much money. But over the course of the last 40 years, universities and colleges charge 180% more than they did in 1980 when you take inflation out. So the problem you have here is you have three people. You have the government, you have the student, and you have the university. It's the students and the government, the taxpayers, that are footing the bill for school, and universities keep tracking up the price. This doesn't do anything to reduce the cost of education. I think if you put universities on the hook for students who couldn't pay, you would see prices drop like a rock. One last point. You have 3-to-1 administrators to teachers. Just the bureaucracy of universities have gotten so big. I mean, pare that back. Make school cheaper and more affordable. That's the answer, not a handout.
Not only that, there are some who are making the case, like Bill Bennett, who has been for years making the case that this will only serve to drive those tuition costs even higher if you bail these folks out. And now there's vulnerable Democrats, David, we just showed a long list of them, who are speaking out against the president's plan. Here's a former Clinton advisor on this debt forgiveness asking, what are we doing here? Listen.
I'm a progressive. I want to help folks. But I think this is terrible policy. What is my party doing with this? They're disadvantaging. I think they're not helping the people that we're here to help, which is poor people.
Because what's in it for somebody who did work 2-3 jobs to pay off their student loans or their child's student loans, or didn't take one out in the first place and didn't go to college because they saw that they couldn't afford it?
Yeah, I can appreciate the frustration that people have and say this isn't a perfect plan, but it is a step in the right direction. And we have to remember that over 60% of people with student debt have taken out a Pell Grant, and they're going to receive over $20,000 in eliminating that debt, and over 20 million people will have their debt eliminated altogether. So yes, this isn't the complete silver bullet that will end the student debt situation that we're in, but it's a step in the right direction. And I believe Republicans are really upset because, hey, Joe Biden is actually following through on a campaign promise that he spoke about. This isn't something new. This isn't some idea that floated out of the sky. This is something that Joe Biden talked about on the campaign trail, and now he's delivering. And I think success after success is really showing that, hey, he's getting stuff done, and Republicans are getting more and more nervous.
The problem is you have to start funding in the Congress. This bill needed to be passed through Congress, the House, the Senate, that Joe Biden was signed. He can't do it unilaterally. It doesn't work
Nancy
that way.
Pelosi's even made that point.
She's made that point. But just a quick point, it's going to make college more expensive. There was a bill that came out and said we're going to give $7,500 tax credits for new EV purchasers, electric vehicle purchasers. The very same day, Ford and GM raised the cost of their electric vehicles by $6,000 to $8,000. Yeah. So you're paying the same amount as a consumer. It's just that you have the manufacturers raising the price of the vehicle. The same thing is going to happen in college. College is going to get more expensive. People are going to have the same amount of loans, and the American taxpayer.
A lot of people saying, yeah,
I mean,
that
college
very thing
has been inflating at a rate that's higher than inflation, and that's been going on for decades.
You're going to deal with
that. So what do? We have to deal with the part that has a burden on so many Americans, and that's what President Biden is focused on.
But you got to ask yourself who's paying for that, and that's what those vulnerable Democrats are saying, and that former Clinton advisor is saying, that it's going to be the lower income Americans who are on the hook for this bill that nobody really even knows the true cost of because they didn't calculate it before they put it out there. Final thought on this. Biden going after Republicans. Listen.
I respect conservative Republicans. I don't respect these MAGA Republicans. The MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy.
It's getting a lot of attention. Real quick thought from both of you on that. David?
Yeah, I think President Biden is isolating the two. He's saying, look, I've got respect for Republicans, conservative Republicans, but this MAGA philosophy is catering to the worst of America. It's allowing
what
a
isn't one of his
foundation for white
campaign
supremacy.
promises to unite the country?
And he's calling a spade a spade.
Okay.
And he's saying, I have respect for Republicans, but let's differentiate.
What is MAGA? Make America great again. You know, put America first. That's the philosophy behind MAGA. And, I mean, Joe Biden has become old, senile, liberal, and angry, and that's the rhetoric that you get. When 70-plus million voters voted for Donald Trump that believe in the philosophy of putting America first, this is really bad politics.
I'll let you respond to that.
Well, I think he's saying, look, I'm not saying every Republican, but I'm saying this MAGA philosophy we have to focus on and recognize that you're giving a base, a foundation to this ultra-right, to this white supremacy, fascism that needs to be pushed back against.
This is traditional Americanism. It's saying lower taxes, less regulation, secure borders, a strong military. We don't want crime on our streets. That's what these Republicans are talking about. Let's make sure we put our country and our workers first. That's the philosophy. That's not extreme. That's America.
That's part of it.
Interesting concept. We have to wrap it there. But Tim Ryan, the Ohio Democrat, he's making the case that Sean is making and saying, rather than student loan forgiveness, let's lower taxes for those hardworking Americans. We're going to have more on that coming up.
Both.
James Freeman from the Wall Street Journal. Thank you to you both. Appreciate the spirited debate. All right. As I mentioned, James Freeman will be coming up, John, and this debate will surely continue. He'll weigh in on that and more.